A new poll commissioned by the Institute of Public Affairs has revealed the majority of Australians, 62% of us, agree Australia Day should remain on the 26th of January, and 21% had no opinion whatsoever on the matter. Of the 17% who disagreed, well, they were a majority of the younger generation. And who's surprised? Our kids are continually taught in school to have a negative view of our country, about how to separate us and divide us rather than unite us, and celebrate a modern Australia. Well, joining me now is Deputy Executive Director of the Institute of Public Affairs, Daniel Wild. Daniel, thanks for your time and joining me tonight. We've got big business now getting into politics. Kmart has stopped its Australia Day merchandise. Businesses are offering alternative public holiday dates. What hope does the public have when we're facing an onslaught that's poisoning our youth and targeting our workers now?
Well, Cory, great to be with you. I think there is hope, as you outlined with our poll results showing a commanding majority of Australians still back in Australia Day as being on the 26th of January, despite years and years of relentless hostility and an open onslaught onto our way of life by, the big woke corporations, mainstream media, schools and universities, sporting codes and civic organisations. A majority of Australians are able to see through that, and that should give us hope for the future. But you're dead right. If we don't fight for Australia Day and if we don't fight for our values, we risk losing everything that we have as a nation and everything that we've been able to achieve as a nation. But overall, I think the poll results show that we are a resilient nation with people that can look through the woke propaganda being force-fed to them.
Yeah, one of the challenges, of course, is that people are fed the propaganda and they don't understand Australian history, the good and bad of it. But the 26th of January was actually the date when people could become Australian. You could get an Australian passport. That was the day in which the bill was enacted and started. And that's quite significant in Australia's history. I think it's worth celebrating because that passport is the thing that brings us all together as a nation, doesn't it?
Well, you're right, Cory, and it's broader than that because whether your ancestry goes back tens of thousands of years or whether your forebears came here on the First Fleet or whether you took your oath of citizenship yesterday, we're all Australians, we're all equal, and we all benefit from the values that underpin our nation: freedom, democracy, tolerance and fairness, which is why hundreds and thousands of migrants want to come here every single year. None of them are doing that under duress. They're doing that because they're attracted by a way of life and want to have a better future. You pick up on something important, though, which is that so many Australians, and young Australians in particular, have a jaundiced view of our history and are not taught the facts in school. And that's why I was, in a way, happy to see that almost 1 in 2 young Australians support Australia Day still, and more young Australians support Australia Day than oppose it. Now, of course, I would like to see 100% of young Australians backing it in. But don't forget, these are people that have gone through 12 years of indoctrination at school. Many of them have had another 3 or 4 years of indoctrination at university, and still 1 in 2 of them are coming out not too bad at the end of all of that. Imagine if we had a balanced education system and a balanced curriculum, that number would be much higher.
It certainly would, which is why the left of Australia doesn't want to see any balance or in our curriculum at all. Hey, quickly, Daniel, what do you make of the Australian Open dropping all celebrations? I enjoy the tennis at this time of year, but surely Australia Day should be part of the Australian Open, shouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely, it should be a part of Australian Open, and it's just another example of how these sporting bodies are dividing us. The overwhelming majority of people at tennis want to celebrate our country and the tennis players that are playing in the Open, and they want to celebrate Australia Day. But basically, you've got these major sporting organisations and big business that are essentially being run out of their HR departments. You've got these undergraduates that have just come out of university with diversity and inclusion ideology that are essentially running corporate Australia and these major sporting codes against the interests of the fans that want to get together. They want to get around whoever's playing on the day from Australia and to celebrate our nation. And it's deeply, deeply concerning and disappointing what Tennis Australia are doing to divide our nation.
And it's not just Tennis Australia. The one that really gets me, I've got to tell you, is Cricket Australia. I mean, cricket was a British game. It came here when the British came and settled in this country. And now we've got people who are Indigenous cricket players taking the coin, wearing the green and gold and saying it shouldn't be celebrated played on Australia Day. It's just outrageous. The hypocrisy in this space is extraordinary. But like in many of these things, the Institute of Public Affairs and you and your team do an amazing job of bringing the truth to light. So thank you for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.